Good, well, let's get going. We've got 50 minutes, just under, because we want to build on what Jack was talking about how companies and countries can adapt successfully, have successful strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to maybe dim your volume, please, and have the discussion outside, or better still, stay here to listen to this discussion. I'd like to introduce you on the far side, on my left, on your right, to Johan Eliash, who is Chief Executive of HEAD. And for those of you from Ukraine, you know the very significant investment that HEAD have just made. And Jacques Seguela, who is Vice President of the global advertising communications company Havas, which is now a part of Vivendi as well. What we want to get to is what successful strategies there really are. And I'm going to turn first of all to Johan, because Johan, you, and I repeat, I assume you were sitting in the audience because I haven't seen you before. I repeat what I said to Jack about what you said on the day that you announced that you were investing here in Ukraine. I believe that Ukraine offers the best opportunities for competitive manufacturing in this part of the world, even better than in China. Now, you need to explain, for those who are not totally familiar, about the investment you've put in, where it's happening, and where you've got to in Vinnytsia, which is about 80 million euros of investment. How is it going? Is it working out as you hoped for?
So far, very good. So, when you look for a site, you need to pick...
One moment, let me make sure the microphone... Can we have the microphone a bit higher, please? Go ahead, Johan.
So when you make an investment like this, there's a lot of background work that goes into it. And we picked Ukraine because the cost levels here are very impressive. They beat China. Logistically, where Ukraine is geographically located, makes it very easy for European markets. And with the free trade agreements Ukraine have, tariff situation is uncomplicated, works very well with Europe, and also most places around the world. And so far I can only say that I am very impressed by the authorities, how they conduct things. There have been some, shall we say, systematic issues.
What does that mean?
Well, processes like connection of electricity, stuff like that, but nothing that we can't overcome. And compared to, if you go to China, you have many more issues of that kind.
So you're saying that what you're facing here is no different really to any other country where you may be investing?
No, I would say that overall, if I have to rate things, this is on par with any developing country, even better, I would say.
Because you're at the moment invested in Austria, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria and China. What are you taking away from this? If my figures here are correct, you're employing about 300, or will be shortly, employing 300 people, and you should reach about 1,000 by 2022.
Yes, and that's another thing. I mean, access to skilled labor and also workers, that's become very difficult in Europe. Why is that? Because people in Eastern Europe, they found better opportunities in the western part of Europe. And I think also Ukraine is beginning to experience this because a lot of Ukrainians have migrated to Eastern Europe to fill those places. But that said, there are no, in the region we are, which is Vinnytsia, which is not far from here, we don't think we will have any issues of that kind. And we see long-term, sustainable labor pool of high quality that we can work with.
Now you're here because things are working out pretty well, but Ukraine is still facing a battle, a struggle to attract foreign investment. It is beginning to lose the edge I was here this time last year, there was still optimism then. It seems to be beginning to lose its edge. And in terms of external investment per capita, Ukraine is now one of the last states in Europe. What is your experience? How do you compare your experience to this reality as assessed by other investors or those who might be interested in investing here, who are still saying, I'm not sure yet?
I think people wanted to assess the political situation following the elections. All I can say is that, and I met with President Zelensky, I'm very impressed by his agenda and desire to make economic reform. And I think with that, more and more companies will make the decision I did, which is to invest here.
There's an interesting new reality for a company like yours, though, as you think of where you're going to invest. Nowhere is stable at the moment politically. There are so many things happening. I'm not making a judgment here about Ukraine, but in many countries, given where I come from as well, you can't exactly say there's political stability there. There's deep political uncertainty in so many places. And including in France, it could be that President Macron will face an interesting backlash in a couple of years' time. But so I put to you, how much is politics a part of this now?
Well, it's something which is very important. And as you correctly pointed out, we have political turmoil in many places. The US, upcoming elections, 2020. We have elections in Britain where it's become entirely an issue about leaving or remaining in the European Union. You have France with the Gilets jaunes, which is not a good thing. And this is, I think, mistrust in politicians. And we need more talented people to go into politics. And that is something that I see here. The quality of the people that are now in government is high, and that gives me confidence.
Jacques, you have been around a long time, 55 years in Havas and so on. Leave your document for the moment if you can. But what is your impression of Ukraine? And I think it would be a good idea, rather than leaving it to me to explain what you do and what you have done in your many years in Havas, where you're a vice president, if you just explain how being in Ukraine fits into an overall texture and context of the work that you have been doing and the work that you continue to do, but above all, the agility and the smartness that you need to remain at the top of your game as you have in Havas.
First, I need...
It's theirs.
It's
Ça marche, oui.
Okay? First, I need to confess you something. My English is French. So don't worry if you don't understand what I am saying, because I don't understand myself exactly what I am saying, but I try harder. First, for the first time in Ukraine, I have a so bad image about Ukraine. Maybe the war, maybe the Russian problem, I don't know. And yesterday, I walked in the city. It's a fabulous city, so splendid. It's a new Moscow. It's incredibly possibilities from the tourism. And after, I make a conference with the young people and from advertising, and I feel the volunteers of change the world. And all the say Jacques just now, and the volunteer to stay in the country and not to go out like other country in this part of Europe. And I think there is a lot of possibilities. And we have a president like our president, a new president coming out of politics. And that is really interesting for the new time. We quit the old time, the old world, for the next world. And the next world in this part of Europe can start from here. not for Poland. It's a too heavy country. The other countries are too small, and Russia is Russia. It's out of the game. So I think it's a real chance for you. Maybe I don't say exactly. I speak not clearly, but you understand what I say.
But central to what you've done over your many years has been the branding of political leaders, how you market them, how you advertise them. What are you seeing, just picking up on Johan's point there, about the difficulties now for leaders? I have to say, in our project, we don't call it populism, we go further, we call it pushback. Everyone is pushing back against companies and against the political leaders. So do you think the political class and the corporate class are as in tune with the public feelings as they need to be? No, Jacques, for you first.
Yeah. I think it's time for you to make a great worldwide campaign. Not a touristic campaign, or not economic campaign, or not a specialist campaign, a full campaign about the soul of this country. The roots of this country, the future of this country, and a campaign like a product campaign, not a campaign, a corporate campaign like the country campaign. I am ready to work for free for that, because this country is so interesting. It's so something happens. I make a lot of day like that with summit or so. I never see what I see 10 minutes ago. It was a fantastic show. It was great. We have not this kind of show in Paris, and we are Paris. So everything is possible for the country.
Johan, this issue of branding, and in many ways you've gone with a tide, but the river is not flowing as fast as this country was hoping. Certainly I can reflect that from what I heard this time last year. About the ability of leaders in the current environment to attract people like you, bigger companies, quite apart from the SMEs and the startups that are here. But that kind of investment is an important expression of confidence.
So, yes, there have been troubles. But then if you look at the political situation in the area, I think it's very unlikely that Russia will go further with what they did back in 2014. I also think that we now have a situation with the EU, between the EU and Ukraine, which is stable and should not, shall we say, make Russia upset. So I see political or regional stability, and I also see political stability with the new government and with the economic reforms that are taking place. It's very important that you have a sustainable and prosperous economy. With that, you will always have political stability.
Now, what I want to move on to, and by the way, I'd like you to feel that you can come into the conversation. So I hope the hostesses have still got the microphones. We've got 25, 30 minutes to run, so please feel you can we have the lights up as well, again, so I can see everybody. But Jacques, let me broaden this, because we are talking about the attraction, I should say, the successful strategies and attractions for countries and companies. But I think, I'm not going to mention your age, but you can if you want. You're in a business which is having to change and adapt very quickly. And you say very clearly that you're now a content agency, that you are now in the information business as much as what you have been in the business of. How do you see, building on what Jack Ma has been saying, the way the landscape is changing for people like you? And I mentioned to the lady at the back that you would be here, and she was asking whether advertising was really, and communications were as appropriate for what is needed for a country like Ukraine. How is your business changing now? How agile and smart are you having to be?
You don't want, I write a love letter for you. I explained exactly that, but we say pure English. You don't want I read my letter, my love letter?
In a moment, please, but please.
Alors first you want...
I'd like your answer first of all.
I think advertising is ill because GAFA. Because
now you need to explain what GAFA is, because that's Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. GAFA.
Yes. So today, 70% of the market is in the hand of the GAFA, and we lose a lot of share markets. So you need to reinvent advertising, and you need to push on technology and creativity both. And you need to change the way of advertising and come from advertising to go to advertainment. It's a contraction of entertainment, Hollywood, and advertising. Now, to keep a brand in the heart of the people, it's important to speak all day, every day, with all the media possible. And the spot, this film, the ad, the poster is not enough to do that. So we need to invent the new agency, the content agency. And in Paris, Havas merged with Vivendi. Vivendi is a big company. And we are in this company with content of TV, is Canal+, content of series and film and movies. We are the #1 European producer. Content of music with Universal Music. We are the #1 in the world for the music. 40% of the singers, the best singers, are in Universal Music. Content of editing, of edition. We are #1 in France, and content in video games, we are #2 in Europe, and content in advertising. And this is a village with all the talent of this different part of creativity, play together, sing together, work together, is a new way in advertising, because advertising to stay. Now we have the disinterest of the public, so you need to enter in the full day advertising with advertisement.
But let me get to the heart of what you are facing. You've, over 55 years, seen enormous changes. And I need to understand, in the same way that Johan has to understand the changing nature of the sports industry, including the impact of climate change on skiing, and he's making skis. But you have just written a book, not The Devil Wore Prada, but The Devil Dresses in GAFA.
Yeah.
And you are warning about a seismic change, a seismic threat to the traditional nature of your business from Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. You are saying that they are creating a new economy, and a new economy which is as big as France at the moment, will soon be as big as Europe, and ultimately could be as big as the world. Now, this is extraordinary, but it's happening very fast. Do you think people realize that?
The problem is, there is two ways to react against the war. We are in war. You can choose technology, or you can choose creativity. Some group, and the two big group, WPP is the #1 in the world, and Publicis is the #2 in the world, make the choice of technology. Omnicom, the greatest for me group in the world, with the 3 best agencies in the world, more creative since 100 years. And us, Havas, we are smaller, but we try to become the most creative as possible. Choice the creativity. But I say the real choice is to be hybrid. Tech and affect. Tech without affect is the death of humankind. And tech without affect is the death of advertising. Why? Because everybody says the new media is the data. No, the new media is the ID. Why? Because a data without an ID is like a gun without a bullet. You shoot and nothing happens. So more and more this world go to technicity, to machines, to robots, and more you need to try with advertising and advertisement. We need to try the public to give more empathy, more art, more humankind, more generosity to the public. If we don't do that, the brand will die. 80% of the brand I know in my secular, in my century, the last century, are dead. And at the end of this century, 80% of the brand will be died too. So our job today is to protect the brand and to try to make the brand for eternity. Why? Because God created himself mortal, but him is immortal. But the creative guy and the ad man can make the brands immortal. Coca-Cola this year have its 120 anniversary, and Citroën have its 100 anniversary. But they have both the same age, 20 years, the age of their campaign. One day I made the campaign for François Mitterrand in France 40 years ago. And I make the campaign for free because they have no money at this moment for the political campaigns. It was a little revolution. I make the slogan was La force tranquille, the strength power. And the president said me, you don't want money, but I want to make a gift for you. But you are a crazy guy. Give me what gift you want. And I say, okay, Mr. President. And 1 week after, I come back to see the President. He says, Mr. President, I want meet the Dalai Lama. Okay, says the President. And 6 months go, 1 year go. And one day, the secretary of the President called me and said, are you free tonight with your wife to have a dinner with the President? I arrive at the Élysée. The President, the wife of the President, my wife, me, and a chair empty. During 30 minutes. And arrive the Dalai Lama. Wow. And he say, do you know the last Buddhist story? There is an old monk who give his first lesson, first philosophy lesson to a young monk. And she said, I tell you 3 questions. You sing, and you answer me. First question, what is the opposite of white? Black, say the young monk. No, says the old monk. Sing is a good answer, but sing first. Second question, what is the opposite of day? And the young monk sing and say, Master, I think only one answer. The opposite of day is night. Bravo, says the old monk. You sing and you answer. And now the third question. What is the opposite of life? And the young monk sing and say, the opposite of life is dead. No, says the old monk. The opposite of life is birth, is first day, is life.
Right, Jack.
And the advertising and advertisement for the brand give the eternal life, because every new campaign gives them the new age. Every new campaign is a birthday.
Now, Jacques has actually written a letter which I'm going to ask him to read. It's a letter to all of you, actually. So in a moment, dans 10 minutes peut-être. Johan, so I'd like to come to you because you're going to read that for about 6 or 7 minutes. Johan, when you look at the way businesses are changing at the moment, not just in Ukraine and elsewhere, how difficult is it for you as a CEO now to actually chart and make good decisions based, particularly when there's this scale of disruption that's happening? Because if we're looking for successful strategies for countries and companies, there is a very strong view that if you have a business plan, actually holding to the business plan can be very destructive because you've got to be far more flexible these days.
Yeah, you have to be open to change all the time. You have to adjust as you go along. And can't be asleep.
Do you think some of your peers are asleep or hoping that it's not as disrupted as it is?
I would hope so, but unfortunately they're not.
But you presumably have to make very critical decisions about the way you think the trends are moving in sport and equipment.
Yes.
And public interest in them. Certainly you're seeing some sports beginning to diminish in popularity at the moment. What kind of judgments are you making? Because if you're picking up on Jack Ma's point about recreation and time free, what implications are there for you, for your strategy?
So for Head, it's more consumer behavior. Actually, more and more people ski, more and more people play tennis. But with tennis rackets, we made them so good, so high quality, so durable, they don't break anymore. So therefore, what we have to do is to have a different strategy, not for people to replace their rackets because they broke, but because there is a better racket out there that they have to have, because there's some innovation.
Does it work?
Yes, it does work. It's a different way of doing business, and that is that you always have to be the best version of yourself, which means more and more innovation. Same with skiing. So here what's happening is people rent their skis, fewer people buy skis. So again, you have to be more innovative. And we focus a lot on racers, ski racers. And we've won the Constructors' Championship 10 out of the last 11 years. That's great advertising, because when people see that your skis, they win all the races, of course they want to buy your skis. It's all about the innovation.
Okay. Is there anyone who wants to come in? I can't see you. If I could have the light, please. Could we get the microphones, please, ladies? Where are you? And there's a gentleman further back. Could we have the light up, please, as well? Light, so I can see you. And the gentleman there, please. Go ahead. And introduce yourself, can you?
Tobias Hundertmark, I'm an investment banker and advisor to a global German automotive supplier. And I have a question for Johan, because I was in Vinica 3 weeks ago, and we also met with the mayor, saw his impressive team, and then I was standing on your land and saw the lonely excavator moving some earth around. So you mentioned that, of course, what Vinica is doing for the industrial park is very impressive. But as a potential neighbor, what tip do you have? How big is the gap between reality and marketing?
Reality and marketing.
No, as I said earlier, so far it has been very, very smooth, transparent. And if you go to China, for instance, you will have much more problems, like dealing with bureaucracies, with all sorts of problems that come up during a process, like setting up a new factory. So far, so good. The proof, of course, is when the factory is ready and we have some time to go. And I hope I can be as optimistic and and pleased as I am with the progress to date.
Thank you. Behind you, please.
Hi, Jim Brook, Ukraine Business Journal. Business News, sorry, we rebranded. Johan, this question's for you. Just parenthetically, I got my first pair of head skis at the age of 12, so it's a real thrill to meet a real head man.
Have you always bought head?
Well, I've been off the skis a little while. Yes, I still have a pair, yes.
Excellent.
Thank you. Short question, as you move around Europe and you tell your fellow CEOs that you're building a factory in Ukraine, you've been doing this now about 18 months, the discussion part. What sort of reactions are you getting? How are attitudes changing? I mean, are there people who say, well, that's kind of a walk on the wild side? Other people say, well, that probably makes sense. I'm just interested in the attitudes you're getting in Europe towards your investment.
So, people say, why? Why Ukraine? And then you explain why. And then people say, well, is it politically stable? Then you explain that too. And if you look at Europe today, Eastern Europe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, was very attractive, but the costs have gone up. It's almost as expensive as Western Europe. And in what we do, which is quite labor intensive, you have to look at wages. And there are only two places there, and that is Ukraine and possibly Bulgaria. But there you have shortages of labor, and also the costs are much higher. And then of course there is Britain, and that's also a great place, but that is more for car manufacturing, highly automated type of processes. So for what we do, which is labor intensive, and which is very difficult to automate beyond a certain point, Ukraine is offers by far the best prospects for the future.
Can I just
let me add one thing, Nick,
please,
and that's quite relevant for the overall conversation, and that is that if you look at the exchange rate movements, that is something that is going to be very important, and also inflation. But we see inflation coming down, and we have over the last 3 years seen, 4 years actually, a fairly stable exchange rate scenario, and as long as that continues, this will prevail as, I believe, the most attractive.
Let me just check before I get the next question. You talk about labor intensive. I could imagine a bit like cars can now be produced virtually without a human being by the robots and so on. I could imagine that much of what you produce could eventually be produced by machine learning.
It's difficult because the ski is, there are lots of layers that have to be put into a heating process. And to do that properly, you can't really automate the process to a point where the labor content becomes insignificant.
All right, please, here. One moment. Do we need to put our headset on? Johan, do you need to put your headset on? And
unfortunately, the mic is not working.
Another microphone is coming, please.
Hello. I have a question to Jacques. My name is Dmitry Andreev. I am the founder of the creative company of Moon Studio. That's a Ukrainian company. So, at the advertisement global market, there is the fact that the consulting companies are acquiring creative or advertisement character. This is the essential fact. Which acquired Droga 5. Aren't you afraid that once upon a time Havas will be eventually bought? Or does Havas plan to create their own consulting department and to do something with that? Because the threat is significant and the advertisement market doesn't want to be lost.
First, we need to be the bodyguard of our brands against crisis. So we are the specialists of the corporate advertising, the influence advertising, to react in 2 or 3 hours when a crisis is coming. But in the same part, we need to be the body art of our brands and give soul, give content, give humankind to the brand. And the most important is that all the technology can change the world, but they change the world with the past. They cannot change the world with the future, because the data are all from the past. So AI invent only with the past. And for a machine, when you create a rupture, it's a pan. For the creativity, it's an idea. And there is no intelligence artificial machine. We can replace creativity, but they can replace technology. So I think the good choice between tech and affect is affect with creativity. If you go to the part of technology, you can never fight and you can never win against Google, and Facebook, and the
never
other.
Win. Never win.
And after against Accenture or the big consultant company, you need to stay at the roots of this boss, of this job, creativity. This year I celebrate my 85 years and my 65 years in advertising. And during these 65 years, I wish for the better definition of creativity. And I found only one question. Ask to a client what becomes snow when it melts. And the answer of the client is water. Water. Water is the answer of a client. Is no color, no odor, no flavor. Not for me, not for a creative guy. For a creative guy, when snow melts, it becomes spring, eternal spring. Our job is to create eternal spring, not eternal algorithm. It's not there. And the only possibility to replace the humankind at the center of an agency, in the center of a company, in the center of a brand, is to fight for creativity.
Jacques, thanks. Johan, I want to come to you on a broader issue. We're talking about successful strategies for countries and companies. You've been involved in sustainability for longer than most people in your position. As a founder of Cool Earth, first president of the Global Strategy Forum, you're now a trustee of Cool Earth. I'm asking this because there is now so much public pressure growing, particularly from the next generation, on sustainability and the climate emergency, not just climate change. What is your broader thought about strategies and where success will come? Because there are still many at the top of companies who are thinking that somehow they can get away with it in a Trumpian way. But now there's much more pressure, both commercial pressure, regulatory pressure, and ultimately emotional pressure on sustainability. And you were involved in Brazil with some difficulties there. But where do you think this is going? And what do you say to those out there who think that maybe they can get away with not being sustainable anymore?
Well, the planet wasn't designed for 7 billion people living the way we do, so we have to adapt. That's clear. So there are two parts to this. One is fossil fuels. So I hope that with scalability of solar, geothermal, that will drive the equivalent cost of energy down so much that fossil fuels will simply become uncompetitive. It will only be used for aviation, for ships, and grid stability. So with that, we can find ways of making the fossil fuel part of it close to net zero. The other part, which is really worrying, is biodiversity, and particularly the way we treat the rainforests and forests.
And you've been involved in Brazil?
Yes, very much so. And this is not only about biodiversity, but also about food and water security. So to give you an example, deforestation in the Congo Basin. It led to rainfall in the wrong places. Agricultural land became unproductive. People then migrate. You get land grabbing, leads to conflicts. We got the Darfur crisis. We got rising food prices in that region, which culminated in Arab Spring. With Arab Spring, we got problems in Syria, conflict there. Got the massive refugee crisis. That in Britain was confused with European immigration policy, and that was a triggering factor of Brexit.
But can I just push you? You're a chief executive. Do you think chief executives, C-suites and boards are really gripping the enormity of the pressure, both scientific and now emotional pressure and anxiety, particularly from the next generation?
I think wherever you go, chief executives of big companies are not the problem. It's government policies that are not moving fast enough. And here we don't have the luxury of time. We have to act, we have to do things. And companies around the world more and more do their part. Can they do more? Of course. But here we need more policy help from governments.
But we're talking about successful strategies. Do you think that enough of those who might want to invest in Ukraine, invest in so many other countries, are making sustainability at the heart of their strategy or trying to avoid it?
In fact, consumers more and more demand that. So there are lots of brands today that have embraced this, that have become very successful just because of that. Because consumers will in fact buy something that has been sustainably manufactured out of materials which are sustainable, rather than something that is not. And so consumers will drive companies to adapt.
But driving, and when you look at the single-use plastics, and you know, dare I say, you're using a number of, I don't know how you make your equipment, but how much is that central now to the way you are thinking about your production processes? How sustainable are we?
In general,
plastics
is a huge problem, particularly how we deal with waste and how we dump that in the oceans and how the fish are dying.
But for you inside your factories?
So, I mean, we take great care of waste. We make sure that any waste is minimized and that it is properly dealt with.
Can you recycle skis? Can you recycle tennis rackets?
No, you can't, because of the processes that are involved. And to do that sustainably, it's another issue. And I think people are becoming more and more aware of the plastics issue. People are taking more and more care of not throwing plastic bags. And that is very important because the oceans are so important for fish and also for biodiversity.
Thank you. Now, I promised Jacques that he could read at least some of your letter, which you've drafted. So would you, Jacques, as the end of this session, would you like to read certainly the first 2 or 3 pages? Because
I say a lot of things. But so it's a love letter for the young people and the young people who want to go to advertising and to creativity, and all the entrepreneurs who want to make advertising and make success. So, my friend, my dear friend, A brand is a creature of flesh and blood, not an algorithm. If you want our brands to be loved, give them a heart. It's the best weapon against dematerialization. Don't become the ad robots of this cyber civilization. You must escape from totalitarianism of the tech attitude. As we go digital, we must take care not to become numbers, losing the essence of humanity, otherness. The other is not a piece of data, it's a subject. Let's not turn it into a currency. 10 years ago, Macan Japan developed the first AI creative director. We are all waiting for their first campaign. Fast as the tech attitude, I want to propose the human attitude and 6 fights. The first fight is creativity. I have just tell my definition of the creativity. The second is be courageous, my friend. And first, our client. Our courage is the driving force of our creativity, is the Hemingway punchline, to have or have not. Our job is to be the protector of our brand and the bodyguard and the body art. And ideas is like spermatozoa. There are billions, but only one go through the difficulties of life and create a little baby idea. And you need to create these little baby ideas. Third one, be hybrid. Be hybrid, my friends. Our job is to be the protector of our brand. Let's refuse the old tech mindset invading our world. Let's be hybrid, tech and affect. Tech without affect is the death of humankind. Tech without ideas is the death of advertising. More and more brands need to use human warmth to reduce the coldness of technology. Stop the tech supremacy. Some people say that data is a new media. No. 4, be generous, my friend. Generous and innovative. It's time to create the agency of the 20th century. And why not here in your country? There is 3 ways in advertising. The first way is the English way. It starts from the head to go to the heart. It's a lit intellectual. The second way is the Latin way, the French way. It starts from the heart to go to the head. It's a little too much emotional. The third way is the American way. It starts from the head to go to the wallet. I hate this advertising. You can fight only for money. Jack says that a lot of times, and it's so clear. So, if you want, we want to do that without losing our real score value. It's possible to be both bold and sincere, ambitious and honest, a businessman and a moral being, a candidate and not Donald Trump. Advertising needs to be sociological and social, economic and ecological. Brands need to offer more than just a product, more than just advertising and sales, generosity and love. Bill Gates himself said, we are rich of what you give. The last thing. Be passionate, my friends. Love creativity and it will love you back. The more you give to it, the more you will receive. The more you glorify it, the more glory it will bring you. The more you reinvent it, the more it will reinvent you. Nothing great is ever achieved without passion. And advertising is only great when it is driven by passion. Passion transforms. It transforms fear into courage, immobility into progress, pessimism into optimism, optimism invented plans. pessimism, parachute, stay in the plane, let's fly high and think differently, spend differently, communicate differently, live differently, love differently. The big chance of my life is not my 30 books, it's not my 20 presidential campaign and my 1,500 product campaigns. My only chance is love. I have 5 children and 1 wife. I am the only man in France with 5 children and only 1 wife. And we are together since 44 years and we never fight each other. Never in 45 years. That is my best campaign. And every morning when I walk, and yesterday, my wife say, oh, I love you, my dear. You are beautiful this morning, beautiful. I say, what happens? A surgeon come in the night, put me new wears. I go to my mirror, I look my ugly face, I say, oof, your wife is still in love because love is blind.
I feel we should be...
And I go to see my mistress. And my mistress is advertising. And I have the same COVID with advertising and with my wife.
All right.
And that is advertising. So...
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. I'm going to have to stop you here, but I'm tempted to say I think there are a lot of people here who'd love to hear your views on marriage counseling. But successful strategies for marriage as opposed for countries and companies. I didn't know what you were going to say. But look, at this point I'm going to have to stop it. Not least, I was a bit worried when you said you were talking about your mistress, but at least you qualified that. But thank you, Jacques, and thank you, Johan, very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.